everyone, today we're going to be making some really fun Halloween plates and table decor. And so I wanted to go through the list of supplies. What you're going to need are some small plates that have been washed with soapy water, and then also some of the 10-inch plates. And these are in the glass section at your Dollar Tree. I also found these wonderful stencils, and they're marked Halloween. And I'm going to be using the one that has Happy Halloween, and then also in this one, and it has a variety of cats and bats and haunted houses and witches and things like that. So anyway, just look in the Halloween section and you'll find these new stencils. I also have a little bit of rubbing alcohol in a spray bottle that I got in the cosmetics section at Dollar Tree. And then I also have 2 glass candlesticks that I have washed and gone over with rubbing alcohol. Then I'm going to be using Deco Art glossy enamels, and these are actually paints that go onto glass, and so you won't have to worry about it coming up. And I really want these to last for a while. If you can find something less expensive, go ahead and go for it. But the acrylic paints that they have at Dollar Tree will not adhere to the glass. They'll just peel off like a sticker. And this project's going to use white, black, and shimmering silver. You're also going to need a marker that will go on to glass and not move once it's on. And so I use Adenta pens for this. You can order them online or get them at your local craft store. I have tried the Jot permanent black markers from Dollar Tree, and they just slip around on top of glass. So that's why we have to use this one. On the first stencil, I want to show you that I have actually taped off areas. I've just taken some Scotch Magic tape, and I wanted to isolate the haunted house and not have the witch at this time. I'll come back and use the witch after I put the houses in. And then I've also done that by the bats. I don't want to use the owl, so I've taped off the owl so I can use the bats by themselves. So I have flipped my glass plate upside down, and I have it resting on a plastic container that I got at Dollar Tree, just so that it's a little bit more level when I go to stencil it. So because the haunted house is a little bit bigger than the actual side of the plate, and there's a little bump right here, what I decided to do is I added some paint to the stencil, and then I'm placing it underneath. And then I'm going to simply use the fine tip of the pen, and I am going to simply trace this. I would prefer to be able to just come in and stencil, but because of the angle of the plate, it was just a little bit too difficult. So this works just as easily. And then what we'll do is we'll come in and fill this in using an old brush. And what I like about this is then they'll all be just a little bit different. So when I take it away, it looks kind of like that. So now I'm going to simply take my paint and load it into my brush and fill these areas in. Not all Dollar Trees carry paint brushes, but you can get these fairly inexpensive at other stores. So I just try to stay inside of the lines. And what I like about this method too is if I need to come in and put in a second coat, I don't have to worry about whether or not the stencil is dry. And I'm going to repeat this. So you can see that I've got a little bit of stroking in here. So I'll probably go ahead and fill this in a second time after this dries. But we'll repeat the haunted house 3 times. And then I'm going to just kind of come along the bottom. This is the base of the house. Fill it in with black. When I go in these small areas, I use a very light pressure so I don't go outside the lines. So what we're going to do is try to divide the plate in thirds. So I'm thinking over here is about another third. So I'm going to do the same exact thing. And when I'm done repeating this, I'll show you the next step. So I'm beginning to create some patterning. And basically what I'm doing is I'm coming in and creating this by first doing some letter C's, which is very easy to do. Then on top of the C, I do a little oval, then some dots, and then I just pull some lines. So I do an oval, some dots, and pull some lines. An oval, some dots, and pull some lines. And I'm going to do this randomly as my items need to dry on my plate, because if we were to put the stencil on now, it would just smear that paint that's there. So I want to give it time to dry. So that's kind of looking like lace, and I'm not trying to be super fancy and keep them all perfect. Just kind of wanted to give it an old vintagey look. Okay, we'll come back to that. What we're going to do is come in and add another icon. So I wanted to add some bats. So I've already put some paint on here so that you can see where the bats are going to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the thin side of my Identa pen and just go in and try to get those edges nice and crisp. And now I'm on top of the plate this time, rather than just tracing it like I did before, because I actually want to use this as a stencil. So I'm going to load my cosmetic sponge, and I want to make sure that it doesn't have too much paint in it, and then I'm going to come in and just lightly pounce over. And I'll also repeat that 3 times. So on these, I went out of the lines just a little bit with my paint. I can just come in and clean up with the Identa pen and smooth it out, make it look like it's supposed to give them a little bit of pointy ears. Well, that one actually looks pretty good. I just want some of those points back in. Now I've decided that I'm going to use the same method as the haunted house with the witch, only because she has so many small areas. So I'm going to just trace her as best as I can. And then I'll just fill in these really small areas. This is the broom, so I believe these are supposed to be her hands. This is her face. And then the rest of the body I'm going to fill in with my brush. The rest of the body I'll just fill in with the paints. And I'm going to go over the Identa pen, because I want to make sure that I have the enamel paints down on the glass. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry and then I'll come in and fill that in again. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is repeat the witch 2 more times. So I finished the patterning all around and everything has 2 coats. So now what I want to do is I want to create a pattern coming on this rim, and it's the area that bumps up, and obviously since it's clear you can't see it, but you can feel it. And so I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a letter C, and then I'm going to come back over this bump and finish it out. So we have a circle. And I'll go ahead and I'll go on top of them and do my little oval and some dots. But then I'm going to use my brush and fill in the circles or the ovals that I created with my 2 C's. And this will need multiple coats. Okay, I'm going to finish that and then come back. Okay, so we have this big area over here. So I was trying to decide if I should do a tree or maybe something fun like a spider web, and I decided I would do a spider web. So we all know how to do a letter V, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to just look for ways to connect the letter V. So I'm going to start here on this one oval, and then there's one letter V. And then I'm going to move it over, and let's see, where will I connect? Because all my webs have to connect to something. So I'll have this letter V connect to the house, and this one also. And then maybe this one can come down over here. And so these are all going to be the letter V. Now when I come over here, I'm not going to connect them to the bats, so we'll just let them kind of stop like that. And I'll put a big circle in the center. What we're going to do then is we're going to come in with some more C's to do the interweb. We're doing some C's, and I'm just going around in the inside of these letter V's. I'm doing some C's, and that's what's creating the web. Okay, and we'll do that 3 more times. So I'm liking the patterns that I have, but it's a little bit plain. So all I'm going to do now is just go in and randomly fill in dots to make it look like it is a pattern of some sort. And I'm going to go through the entire rim and fill this in with dots, because you can see how that just makes it look a little bit more complete. Okay, the patterning's done now, and I've made sure I've come in with enough coats so it's all nice and solid in all of the elements. I had one area where I had just a lot of dots, and so I came in and put a little web, but I really didn't have the same kind of areas on the other side. So I guess I wasn't exactly 1/3 as I put things around. So what I'm going to have to do now is let this cure for 24 hours, and I just want to make sure that everything is sealed on well, and then I'm going to come in and add some of the paints on here. I'll be back as soon as it's cured. In a similar manner, I've come in and I've added patterning to one of the smaller plates, and I want to put the Happy Halloween in the middle of it. So what I'm going to do is center it and then try to tape it into position by putting the tape underneath here. So one thing to be careful of is when you're centering it, this is underneath now, so you want to make sure that you lay it down so that when you copy the letters, you're going to be able to read it and it's not going to be the mirror image. So when I turn it over, not sure if you can see or not because it's clear on clear, but this is the mirror image now. And I'm going to just hold it into place. And I'm going to use my marker again to put this in. The main reason is that this is just so small. And I'll do the stars and the little bats. And I may switch in between my small and I'll switch into my narrow tip when I have to. Again, and what I'm trying to do is just, I'm using the narrow outline and I'm just trying to get the outline of this. Then I can come in and fill it in with my paint using my brush. But because this is a thicker stencil, it's really hard to get it to lay flat enough so that the paint won't bleed underneath it. So we can just outline it like this. And again, I'm using the thin side. And then what I'm going to do is lift it up and repeat the bats, all the stars, and then maybe I'll do another star over here. I'll repeat another bat here. I'm just trying to make it a little bit different. Okay, now I'm going to fill those in, and you can either use your Identa pen to fill them in, or you can use your brush. So I find it just as easy to come in with the brush, but that'll be up to you. Yes, you do need to have two coats, whether you're using the Identa pen or whether you're using the enamel paints. I just prefer the enamel paints because I know that they're going to stick, and they're made for glass. Now, one of the reasons I don't use Sharpies is because I find that they just kind of disappear on glass. And so I found the only marker that really works well is the Identa pens. They just go on everything. They just mark everything. I have a candle holder, a glass candle holder from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be adding some of the diamond wrap or diamond ribbon to it. And we want to make sure that this is going to go all the way around, and I cut it so that it will. I may have to take a little bit off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of E6000 actually right onto the diamond wrap. I want to make sure I don't put too much on, so I'm just going to put it on periodically. Just want to have a little bit on both sides. And I'm just kind of skimming the back of this. I'm going to lay this down and I'm going to bring it down approximately a ½ inch. And I want to make sure that this is nice and straight. So what I'm doing is I'm going to use my eye to make sure that this is nice and straight. coming down just a little bit. With the E6000, we just have a few minutes to play. So I'm using my eye again to make sure that it's pretty straight going all the way around. I'm going to take and use rubbing alcohol and get the excess glue off as soon as possible. Because even though it dries clear, it will look dull. While the glue is setting up on the top of the candle holders, I'm going to do the bottom candle holder, and I'm going to take the black paint, and I'm using a brush, about a 1/2 inch brush now, and I'm going to go on in the inside. And this is going to need like 2 or 3 coats. I'm not going to bring it up over here. Because once it's done, the black will just kind of glow through and it gives it a really neat effect. And I'm going to do the same thing in the bottom. And I get in and I put, it's best to put 2 or 3 thin coats of the enamel paint in rather than trying to cover it with 1 thick coat. Because if you do that, what's going to happen is it could over time just peel off. This paint is made to be put on with lots of thin coats. Gives us a little bit of extra time. So the glue has set up, and I have come back and I've washed the glass with rubbing alcohol, and you have to be careful because I'm going to use the Adenta pen to add patterning like we did, but I'm not going to be able to come over and coat it with anything. So I will just, if I do need to clean this glass after I'm done, I will just use damp water. So I'm coming in and I'm putting in my letter C. And I'm going to do this just like we did the patterning on our plates. And hopefully once I put my candle in, it will tie all together on my table. So then I'm going to draw my lines. Now this is going to be a little bit bigger so we can be a little bit neater with our lines. And then I'll do my little oval and my dots. And I'm going to do this below also. So the plates are dry. I'm on the back half again, and I'm going to start my brush right here, right in the center of this pattern, and that's one of the reasons I put it there. It's because I want to have silver on the outside edge. And this is going to take a variety of coats, and again, 3 applications will probably be what will be needed, but it's better to go on with a thin coat than it is to come in with a thick coat, as I've said before. And this is the silver, and then in the middle of the plate I'm going to come in with white. So you can see how pretty that is looking already. And once you have all your supplies, you could make enough for your whole family. This could also become a pedestal plate, so the bottoms, you'll see as I connect the candle holders, you could do the same thing to this plate and raise it up and just use it as like a cake plate. I must say that until you put this coat on, the black icons that we put in will not look nearly as nice as once this is in. It's because you can see through it and you can see through the icons. This is going to make everything a lot more opaque. And I did start with, this is a 3/4 inch brush. I did start with a dry brush. I don't put water in my brush when I'm working with enamels. So what I'm going to do is, while this is, the outside is drying, I'm going to take our small plate and I'm going to just go over this whole thing with white. You can use your 3/4 inch brush, or you can go into, this is like an inch brush, and the nature of the perm enamels is they come in and are a little bit streaky, and that's why you have to go in with multiple coats. Okay, we'll set this to the side, and I'm going to add some more coats. I'm going to dry them with my hair dryer, and then I'll add some more coats and I'll show you what it looks like. So the paint has cured for 4 days and I heat set it. And I just love the way it turned out. Now I wanted to point out that if you wanted to put orange or gold or a different color on the outside, that would be really nice. I chose to put silver out here to make it a little bit different. And however, when you lay them together, there's not a big contrast between the white and silver, but those are my colors and I like that. But I want you to be able to make this to fit your decor. You can also use this as a pedestal plate and use it for serving just a little bit higher. So I wanted to show you that now that I have added the bottom to the glass vase that I worked on, you can add the same thing onto the plate and it will become a pedestal plate. So you simply glue this on to the center here, and that way you can't see how it would be up higher, but then it becomes a really cute pedestal plate. And the same thing for the smaller one too. You could put little candies and things on this as it would stand higher. So now that the glass vase is done, what I want to do is I want to turn it into my candle holder. And I have finished painting the inside of both of the glass candlesticks. And one thing I wanted to show you is by putting it on the inside, there's a little area here that looks clear. And that looks really neat from the outside. And I always like when the glass can be on the outside because then it looks like it's not handmade. So what I'm going to do is just simply put the E6000 along here and stick it on the top. I allow that to set for 24 hours. And then this is what it looks like. And I can put my candle in it. So now my candle is white and I like that, and that goes with my decor. But I've decided that what I want to do is I want to make this black. One coat of the glossy enamels on there because I know that this is a multi-surface acrylic paint, so it can go on the waxy candle too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just come in and paint this black, and I'm using the glossy enamels because they are a multi-surface acrylic paint, and not only can they be used on glass, but they can also be used on a candle. And this covers fairly well. I'll only have to put 2 coats on here. And then I'll just come up over on the sides, and I'm going to leave the inside white. So what I've done is I've taken some paper towel roll and I've cut it off and painted it silver. And now I'm going to add some patterning on it in the same way. I'm going to just add some spider webs because I eventually want to put a spider on here. So we're going to just do it in the same way where I start with a dot and then add my letter V's. And then I come in with my little letter C's or a U, whichever your perspective is. And I'm going to repeat this multiple times going around So you can see how pretty this turned out, and I was going to put a spider on it, but I just like it the way it is. So I'm going to leave it like this. I just love the way this turned out. I love the little salad plate. And then the silver in the dinner plate just turned out so pretty. And then here's our glowing candle. Makes for a very lovely Halloween table decor setting.